am a straight, white, middle-aged male. Yeah, which means in the current climate, I'm allowed to make jokes about myself and this bloke here. You twat! Look at you with your white male smile and your perfect example of me. You should be ashamed of yourself. What's your name, mate?
Russ.
Russ, nice to meet you. Russ, are you going to have to shave? Or is that the smell of white male privilege? Yeah, smash the patriarchy. And tonight, we're going to be smashing the patriarchy by having a go at perfectly reasonable, well-mannered white men. Because they deserve it. Yeah? No, we want to smash the patriarchy. Yeah, go for it. Yeah? Go for it. And you get rebuilt. Yeah? By the men, obviously. The women will just sit around watching us and then complain that they're not getting paid enough. Trigger warning! Trigger warning! There will be some jokes in this show tonight that you won't like, but don't worry, they are just jokes. Okay? So if you hear something you don't like, just take a deep breath, suck it up, and keep that anger locked inside you for the next 20 years. Yeah? Like we used to. Bottle up that bitterness, it's good for you. So no, we will not be smashing the patriarchy tonight. Smashing anything is an act of violence, and we shouldn't be encouraging violence. So I think we need a new name for smashing the patriarchy. If you want, ladies, if you want the patriarchy to topple, you've got to not smash it, maybe tickle it. Tickle it from the bottom, right? Not make it fall down, or maybe prod the patriarchy. Find the weak spot and prod it like a game of Jenga. Yeah? Jenga the patriarchy, that's your new slogan, ladies, alright? And yeah, so if I do say something tonight that does offend you in any way, rather than calling out and interrupting the flow of the show, can I ask that you take out a pen and paper, write down your thoughts, and then at the end of the show, just pop them in the bin. Don't give a shit. You're allowed to be offended. It's one of the cornerstones of comedy. Yeah? If laughter is the best medicine, then inappropriate jokes are the best of the best medicine. That's grade A stuff, yeah? That's Colombian level. Politically correct jokes, that's a placebo. That's not going to get you anywhere. So if laughter really is the best medicine, right, the woke crowd are trying to kill you by taking away that medicine. Think about that. So yeah, I am going to say some jokes tonight that woke people will be offended by, but you know, just got to live with it. You know, as simple as that. And I mean, if I do genuinely upset you, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't have the mental fortitude to roll a fucking joke. Man the fuck up. Sorry, person the fuck up. So, any woke people, because I'm tired of woke people telling me what you can and can't laugh at, what I can and cannot say, right? How about we make a deal? I'll say whatever the fuck I want, and you can decide whether you laugh or not. Yeah, does that sound alright? Can we do that? Because I'm tired of woke people. I'm just tired of them, and it makes me think: what would happen in this country if war broke out? If China invaded us? Would you be happy with an army of snowflakes defending your country? The Chinese soldiers have opened fire. Fire back. No, it's racist. We shouldn't be firing at people based on their nationality, is wrong. And don't call them Chinese soldiers. I prefer to call them the military of East Asian origin. It's less of a label. Oh no, one of them's just shot me. That's an infringement of my human rights. I'm going to protest by boycotting bubble tea. That'll fix it. Any Vietnam War vets in here tonight? Long shot, isn't it? You know, but just thought I'd ask because in the Vietnam War, there's no political correctness there. No, they used to refer to the enemy as gooks. And as much as I don't condone the use of such a racist term, I think you're allowed to call the enemy whatever you like if they're actively trying to kill you. Yeah, fair enough. And that's the problem with the woke crowd. No one is trying to kill them, unfortunately. They've got it too good. If the biggest problem in your life is getting mislabeled with the wrong pronoun, your life is pretty fucking easy. Yeah? Stick him in the trenches in Kiev, then they'll see how traumatic they, them, there is. They, them, there, he, she, z. I've had enough of it. From now on, I'm going to refer to everyone as it. Yeah? And I can't be accused of being insensitive. Yeah? Is this your husband here? Yeah? What's his name? How long have you had it? See, not insensitive at all. You shouldn't use it. Has anyone used the word "it" on a baby? Parents don't like that, do they? If you ever want to get kicked out of a baby's birthday party early, and who the fuck doesn't, just pull out the "it." It's like, oh, look at your baby, it's got a big head, hasn't it? You're gone. Yeah, too many snowflakes in this country who've never suffered hardship. These millennials never suffered hardship, never been through an economic depression, never experienced war, never been forced to attend a Bon Jovi concert with their mum. Their lives have just been too easy, so they actively search for things to get angry about. Yeah? One week it's the patriarchy, the next week it's pronouns, and it's perceived privilege. Anything beginning with P, it's Peppa Picnics, I tell you. Has anyone been accused of having too much privilege? Anyone? Someone said to me recently, you're a straight white male, check your privilege. I thought, alright then. So I made a checklist. You're going to help me out. Right. So, here's my privilege checklist. I'm white, I'm male, I'm straight. We can add more on there. But I want to know, I genuinely know, I want to know how many privilege points I get, right, for being white. Do you think in this country there's an advantage to being white in this country? You can talk back to me, this is not TV. Is there a privilege for being white in this country?
No.
Yes. Oh, interesting. Right, well let me explain. Think about it. White people have a greater life expectancy in this country, and they're more likely to get a sweet acting gig on Home and Away. Yeah, no brown people in Summer Bay. That surf club is like a KKK rally. So I think there's a definite advantage to being white in this country. So how many points should we give it? Out of 10, 0 to 10, how many points for being white?
10.
I'm going to go for 10. Okay, a few people saying 10. What about being male? Is there an inherent advantage of being male in this country? Like, some people think I've got it easy.
Parallel parking.
Alright, well let me explain, right? Some people think I've got it easy because I've got a cock. Right? No. Sorry, yes, I've got a cock, right? But no, it doesn't get me anywhere. Right? People don't rush up to me on the street handing me money. That's your penis, well done. Flashing your cock at the door of the arts centre doesn't get you a discount. And I know, I've tried. Works against you. My dick doesn't open doors for me. Right? It won't get me entry into Scott Morrison's inner circle. And that's not a euphemism for his aliens, by the way. I'm talking about Scott Morrison's inner boys club, right? I'm a man, not a rich man. It's the rich bit that gives you privilege, not the man bit. It's your wealth, not your willy, that opens doors. So, what do you reckon? 0? We can do this all night, but, you know, we have a show to do. Let's go 0, just agree with me for the sake of it. Alright, what about straight? What about being straight? Does that give any privilege things? No. I would agree, because if I was gay and in the closet, people would assume I was straight, but then I'd also get access to the best clubs and the best drugs. And if I was a gay man out of the closet, I'd be classed as brave. So, you know, I don't think it gets you anything these days. It's like the New Zealand dollar. So, straight, 0 points for that. Where else can I pick up privilege points? Where else am I privileged? Give you a clue. Being born. Sorry? Profession. Think you think it's a privilege? Oh, yeah. Wow, I mean, if I'm going to put comedian on the other side, I'm going to lose. What do you reckon?
Able-bodied.
Able-bodied. Able-bodied. Yes. Right, able-bodied. Now, let's have a think about this. I've got a bad knee, but, you know, we'll worry about that later. But I think able-bodied, yeah, you've got a definite advantage. However, if you're disabled, you know, there are lots of, like, ramps now for you to do cool tricks on your wheelchair. And if you're disabled, you're statistically more likely to win Australian of the Year. Those swings and roundabouts. Swings and roundabouts, which ironically are the two pieces of playground equipment that disabled people can't use. But I think we should get some points for being able-bodied. I think, what, 5. 5 points for being able-bodied. What about being born in a Western country? 10. Yeah. Because if you were born in Africa, you have a lot fewer opportunities opportunities than if you're born here. Ironic though, isn't it, that the only other people who accuse you of having privilege are the ones also born in Western countries. Yeah? You don't get people from the slums of Jakarta going, oh, Butler, yeah, you need to check your privilege. No, they're just scratching to stay alive. Right? So, Western, let's give myself 5 points for that, or 10, what do you think? 10? Right, okay, so I've racked up, what's that? Like 25 so far on there. Comedy, well, I think I should just, I'm doing alright tonight, so we'll call it 0. I'm an immigrant, right? And don't say, oh, well, you're an immigrant from a Western-speaking country. It doesn't matter. If you're an immigrant, you have a much tougher time here in Australia than regular Australians because we have to adapt to your customs like the sausage sizzle and casual racism. So I'm going to lose 5 points for being an immigrant. Right? Okay, I'm also a single parent, a full-time single parent. Oh, yeah. So, how many points should I lose for that? 10? Alright, okay. Losing 10. And what else? Someone said my job, and someone said something like profession and educated or whatever. But, you know, yeah, I'm educated, but I had to work hard for it. And both my parents are working class, they're big as pig shit. So I reckon I should lose 5 points for being working class. Looks, yeah. I'm not sure which side that goes on, to be honest. In fact, you see, if you look at this here and people say, oh, you're a straight white male, if you look at it on the other side, I'm a working class immigrant single parent. Centrelink would fucking love me, wouldn't they? I should be the poster boy for Centrelink. So, oh, I'll tell you another one. I'm short. I'm relatively short in this country. You might think, well, that doesn't matter. No, it does. Do you know that tall people around the world earn more money than short people? And that's because tall people are perceived as better leaders, so they're more likely to get a promotion. And they're more likely to get laid. So that's a double whammy. So, I reckon I'm going to lose 5 points for that. Which means I've what? Minus 25 plus 25? Oh, I'm 0! Right? So I've got no privilege, so I can say what the fuck I want. How about that? You know the people with the biggest privilege in this country? Hot white women. Seriously, think about it. If a hot white woman's car breaks down, who stops? Every fucker stops, don't they? Hot white women, they get a speeding ticket, they'll flirt the way out of it. Right? They'll jump the queue in nightclubs, they'll get free drinks bought for them, with free drugs popped into the top of them when they're not looking. And if they come from money, they're at the very top of the pile. So it pisses me off when these hot rich white women, they're like, oh yeah, I know all about privilege, you've got privilege, I know all about privilege because I learned all about it on my gender studies masters that my parents paid for. Yeah, these women, they all end up marrying doctors and lawyers anyway, consolidating that privilege. They don't marry comedians. They'll fuck us, they won't marry us. They'll give us syphilis, not privilege. I joined Twitter last year just to troll someone. You don't need to know who, it may or may not be the next girlfriend. Right? But I joined Twitter just to annoy woke people. And I was posting some jokes about hot rich white women. And Twitter went off, not in a good way. Everyone's banging on me. And one lady called me dangerous. Dangerous for making a joke. Which I thought was kind of cool. I was going to put it on my comedy festival post. My Butler is dangerous. And then someone else said I was mansplaining. Yeah? Do you know what mansplaining? You know what mansplaining is? Mansplaining is where a man talks down to a woman because he thinks she doesn't know what he's talking about. Do you want me to repeat that? Because some people find it quite patronising. Patronising means... So, yeah, this girl accused me of mansplaining. She said, we don't need men like you mansplaining to us. I thought, I made a joke, what's wrong with her? So I went through her previous tweets, you know, because you've got to know your enemy. And I went through there, and about 3 days earlier, she proclaimed that gender was a social construct and that gender doesn't exist. So I replied to her, if gender doesn't exist, then how can I be mansplaining since men don't exist? And then I was suspended from Twitter for hate speech. Or as I like to call it, logic. Gender doesn't exist. Has anyone tried to have that argument with you? If someone puts you that argument, turn the tables on it, right? And say, oh, gender doesn't exist. Go, okay, then if gender doesn't exist, then how do you explain transgender people? Because that means there's no gender for them to trans between. So are you denying the very existence of trans? Are you transphobic? Is that what you're saying? Then they shut the fuck up. Transphobia, that's transgenderism, transphobia, that's in the news quite a lot. A lot of men now identify as women, a lot of women who identify as men, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, because I identify as Chris Hemsworth. I wasn't born a Chris Hemsworth. I don't look like a Chris Hemsworth, but I've always felt there's a Chris Hemsworth inside me trying to get out. Yeah? And if you can't accept that, you're hemsphobic. So I expect all the men now to treat me like Chris Hemsworth by being physically intimidated by me, and I want all the women to treat me like Chris Hemsworth by swooning over me. And if you don't do that, you're prejudiced and you should be guilty. Anybody else want to identify as a Hemsworth?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, you can be Liam, the other brother, and you can be the other one that no one gives a shit about. I think he was in Home and Away, wearing a pointy white hood. I'll tell you this story about a friend of mine. Let's call him Jake. Okay? And he's a comedian friend of mine. When I first came to Australia about 15 years ago, we did comedy together. We wrote a few jokes, we hung out, had a few drinks and so on. Not great mates, just kind of comedy mates. And after a couple of years, he got married, had a kid, moved into the country, and ate a lot of peaches. That's a joke for the people at 40. And eventually he disappeared from social media. And I saw him last year, for the first time in 10 years, I saw him last year at the comedy festival. And he was there outside the town hall, wearing a dress. And I went up to him like, hey Jake, dude, how's it going, man? I haven't seen you in ages, what's going on? And what's with the dress? Is this a character from your new comedy show? And he said, no, that's how I roll these days. I now identify as a woman, you can call me Hannibal. And because he's a comedian, I thought he was joking. So I said, well, you make a pretty fucking ugly woman, mate. You just look like a bloke in a dress. And then I realised he wasn't joking, and I had to do that backtrack thing, and I'm like, oh, wow, so, that's really cool. How long have you been a woman? And he said, oh yeah, about 3 years now. Like, were you married? What's going on with that? I said, oh yeah, my wife's totally on board with it. And my brain's just exploded. I don't know how to react. My brain's exploding. I'm trying to piece together all this information. And I've got so many questions that I want to ask him. But my main question is, why don't you make more of an effort? You just look like a bloke in a dress. You got hairy arms, no tits, and your makeup is fucking terrible. But, you know, he was living his best life, and he was happy, so who am I to judge, yeah? And then he told me he went by the pronoun Z. So Z was living their best life, and Z was happy, so zu am sein to such. I don't know whether anyone's told you to use the pronoun Z when talking to them. You can't do it without sounding like a creepy German. Z was living their best life, and Z was very, very happy. Anyway, we talked for a few more minutes, Jack and I, we talked for a few more minutes about comedy, and then just as we were about to say goodbye, Z leaned in to give Zai a cheek kiss. And Zai kind of pulled away in horror, like this bro movement, like, whoa. And I realised at that point that I'm not transphobic, I'm just picky. I've got standards. You know, if Z had looked like Scott Johansson, I would have sucked his sock. There's a lot of debate at the moment about whether trans women are real women. Have you got any takes on that? into trouble for even just having an opinion.
They're not.
They're not. They're not. There's, well, like Dave Chappelle, you know Dave Chappelle, American comedian, he was shut down from his TV special. J.K. Rowling, she was uninvited for her own TV special because she's a TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist. Yeah, I might be misogynistic, but I'm well read. And then there was also that New Zealand weightlifter. Did you hear about that last year in the Olympics? Do you remember that? New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard. She became a woman to enter the Olympics in weightlifting. That caused a lot of fuss. People were arguing about the legitimacy of her snatch. See, that's my favourite joke. For those people who didn't get it, I'm going to explain it. Because you deserve to know why the rest of the people are laughing. So snatch is a discipline in weightlifting. There are two types of disciplines really. You've got the clean and jerk, which is two movements, and the snatch, which is one movement. Snatch is also a derogatory term for a vagina. You need to know those two pieces of information. I'm asking quite a lot from my audience. You need to know both weightlifting terminology and British slang words for fannies. Yeah, it's a niche market. I'll tell you what, let's do that joke again so the people who didn't get it the first time will get it right, okay? New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, she became a woman just to enter the Olympics, caused a lot of fuss. People were arguing about the legitimacy of her snatch. I love that joke. Look, I'm happy to treat a man in a dress as a woman if that's how he wants to be treated. That's his choice. Okay? But for me to truly see that person as a woman, that's my brain's choice. And I've got a very complex brain with millions of years of evolution hardwired into it. I can't just look at a bloke in a dress and go, nice dress, tap that. Right? It doesn't work like that, does it? It doesn't work like that. And, you know, the younger people in the crowd might think of me as, you know, old-fashioned and with out-of-date ideas. And the woke lefties might label me as transphobic and sexist, even though they're the ones that don't like labels, apparently. But my ideas about men and women were shaped by my upbringing in the north of England, and then reinforced by my many years of relationships with emotionally unstable, insecure nutjobs. Let's not pretend that men and women are the same, by the way, guys. Let's not do that. Men and women are very, very different. Different brains, different operating systems. Men are from Macs, women are from Windows. You ever try to get a Mac and a Windows to communicate? You have to download a plugin, right? And once the Mac's downloaded its plugin, the Windows is like, I don't want that plugin anywhere near me. No, get that plugin away from me. Do not get that plugin anywhere. Go wash it. Get it away from me. But men and women are very, very different. Different brains from birth. Did you know that in the delivery room in maternity wards, you can look at how baby boys and baby girls spend their time? They're very different. Because baby girls, they spend more time looking at the midwife's face, trying to figure out emotions. Baby boys, they spend more time looking around the room, trying to figure out which nurse to bang. And it doesn't matter how progressive we get as a society, men are always going to stare at women. We're always going to do that. And ladies, if you wear a low-cut top, we've literally got no choice. Right? So when women say, look at my eyes when you talk to me, look at my eyes, like, well, wear low-cut sunglasses then. If you push your eyes together to make eye cleavage, I'm going to look at your eyes, but otherwise I'm staring at tits. And I know men shouldn't be telling the ladies how to dress. I get it, right? I get feminism, I understand it. Men should not be telling women how to dress. I know women, we're sick and tired of being told by men what to do and how to behave. So feminism came along and changed all that. And now women are told by feminists what to do and how to behave. Same, yeah? I think a woman is like Afghanistan. Yeah, someone's always trying to control it. Because if you let it self-govern, it's fucking chaos, isn't it? Look, I don't hate women, I'm not a women hater. I've got a lot of respect for women. A lot of respect for women. Some of my best fucks have been women. I saw a newspaper report last year that said 75% of women on university campuses were victims of sexual harassment. And that's a very shocking statistic, isn't it? Until you realise that their definition of sexual harassment involves unwanted staring. 75% of women have been stared at. All that statistic means is that 25% of women on university campuses are really unattractive. But people like to play the victim. People love to be the victim. It's porn for the woke, victim, isn't it? And people love to be the victim. I spoke to a guy last year and he's like, hey man, I know what it's like to be oppressed because my great-grandmother was Aboriginal. I'm like, yeah, but you grew up in Brighton. And you've got 8 great-grandparents. One of them was oppressed. That means the other 7 were the oppressors. So statistically speaking, you're 87.5% cunt. Have we got any Americans in tonight? Americans also like to cling on to the victim status. They go back in history for it. I was over there a few years ago and I met this girl and she said, oh yeah, the Irish were treated so badly when they first came to America. And I know because I'm Irish. I'm like, really? She said, yeah, I'm Irish because my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, his ancestors came from Ireland. I said, well, if we go back that many generations, my ancestors came from monkeys. But I don't go around claiming to be a gorilla, do I? We didn't come from monkeys, we came from God. Shut the fuck up, you stupid religious retard. Oh, I just said the word retard. How do you feel about the word retard? Not allowed to say that these days, apparently. Do you guys use it? I think, genuinely, you probably shouldn't use it if there's a chance that the person you're chatting to may actually be retarded. Yeah? Which, to be fair, since I moved to Australia, I've barely said it. But it's a genuine word. Look at this book. This book from 1973. Books for the retarded reader. You can borrow that one later if you like. Genuine words. It's from the French word retard. Retard means to slow down, like a fire retardant. Slows down the spread of fire. You slow down or go slow. In fact, did you know that the TAC were planning on using it in their next speeding campaign? And I've got a sneak preview actually here. It's the TAC's new commercial. They don't know it yet, but that's their next commercial. When they hack their website, I think that'd be fucking brilliant. My dad still uses the word retard, actually. My brother doesn't like it. My brother's pretty woke. He's like, Dad, you can't say the word retard. No, you can't say the word retard. But Dad's like, what? He said, no, Dad, you have to say intellectually challenged. And I was like, son, intellectually challenged? Are you serious? Intellectually, he says, son, if you're at the back of a bus, licking windows, you're not challenging, you've lost. Fair point. Touched on quite a few touchy topics so far. How about race? We haven't touched on race yet. Yeah, can I go there? Black Lives Matter, that's still going on. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Sports people still taking a knee. This is after 2 or 3 years of this. English footballers on their knees being woke. Instead of the usual rolling around on their backs being wankers. If I were a sportsman, I wouldn't take the knee. No way. I'm over 40, arthritis. Get down on one knee, I'm not getting back up again. Ladies, do you know that's why men over 40 don't propose? Yeah? They're not afraid of commitment. They're afraid of going down on one knee and getting stuck. Will you take me to the Alfred? I'm fucked! I'll tell you a story actually about race. I was at a party in Fitzroy in January. It was like a jungle-themed party. And I wore a t-shirt with a giraffe on it, because that's all I had. And I wore this, my Zulu headdress. And I was accused of cultural appropriation by a Korean girl with bleached blonde hair and a nose ring. I pointed out to her that nose piercing originated in India, and bleaching your hair blonde was invented by prostitutes in ancient Rome. So she was twice as guilty as me. And then this guy, he came up to me. Never met him before, came up to me like a hipster guy. And he's like, hey man, I don't know you, but I just think this, some people might consider insensitive. I'm like, dude, what's insensitive is you coming up, making assumptions about me without knowing anything about me at all. Accusing someone you don't know of being insensitive is the height of insensitivity. So I told him about how I acquired this headdress. Do you want to know how I got it? So in 2019, I went to South Africa to visit my friend Steve, who'd recently been diagnosed with bowel cancer. And Steve's dad is from England, his mum is a Zulu from Durban. And I went over, met him in Joburg, and we went on safari around Kruger National Park, and stayed there for about 2 weeks in total. And really gave Steve the boost. And Steve's mum, at the end of the trip, she gave me this as a thank you. She said, all right, thank you. Hang on, sorry, let me get into character. Any South Africans here? No. Yeah? Like, so, tell me whether this is a good accent, okay? What I do to get into the character of South African accent is, I say the cat sat on a mat, but replace the A with an E. Okay? The cat sat on the mat. That's not bad, is it? Yeah. The cat sat on the mat. So she said, Mark, thank you for visiting my son, Steve. Steve has a very long journey ahead of him. So when he is feeling weak, please wear this. It will make him feel strong. And I thought, great, okay, thank you. So I took it. And then a few days before that party in Fitzroy, Steve had taken a turn for the worse. So I wore this as my way of supporting Steve. So what do you think? Fuck you, hipster, that's what I read. And I made him feel really guilty about it, and rightly so, because you shouldn't be judging people based on one thing. You know, everyone's got their own shit to deal with. Everyone ticks multiple boxes on their privilege chambers. We shouldn't be just saying one thing about someone and going, oh, therefore you're a bad person, or you're a good person, virtue signaling. Load of bullshit, right? And making him feel really bad about himself. Yeah. I mean, obviously the story about Steve having cancer isn't true. I bought this in market for $10. But he didn't know that, fuck it. I mean, to be fair, I probably shouldn't have had blackface, but you know. It was a party, fuck it, woo! Okay, still on the topic of race, I got myself a Chinese girlfriend last year, just to get some new material. Her name was Peggy. Wasn't her real name. Her real name was Lee Seok. But like a lot of Chinese people, she adopted a Western name to help her blend in. Peggy. Yeah. Blending into aged care centres all around the country. Peggy. And I met her in Chinatown. She was one of those girls who stand outside the restaurants in Chinatown holding the menus. You know those girls, yeah? And she was waving at me. She's like, yo, Chinese food? I'm like, no, me English man. So we started dating. And she was great actually. She was very petite, very pale, and waved a lot. What more can you ask for in a girl? She actually reminded me of one of those cats that you see in the windows. You know those cats? She looked exactly like that. You ever listen to those cats? I know you've seen them in the windows. You ever listen to them? Go and put your ear next to the window and listen to them. You can hear them going, don't let them put me in the stir fry. It's not racist, right? I ran these jokes past my Chinese friends and they were all like, yeah, ho ho ho, so funny, so funny, so funny. That's not racist because I didn't do the eyes, right? And I know not all Chinese people eat cats, but this is a joke about the ones that do, so fuck it. No, you Australians eat a lot of funny things as well. You do. Every summer in Australia, I eat about 200 flies. Anyone from the UK here? Yeah, you don't get flies landing on your face in the UK. They don't, do they? They just buzz around. Flies in England are a lot more aloof. Yeah, they have to wait to be introduced before they land on you. Australian flies just jumping all over your face. Come on your face like that. Don't you hate it that someone comes on your face? And I got this fly on my lip. You know it's on the top lip like that, and you go like this. Did that. Fly went straight at my nose. And I got a fly up my nose, and I thought, I'll just blow it out. And I tried to blow it out, it didn't come out. And then on the inhale, it went further up. And I got this fly at the top of my nose, and I'm going, I'm thinking, how am I going to get this fly on my nose? I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll put a spider at my nose to catch the fly. I don't know why, perhaps I'll die. And I thought, no, that's a silly idea. So that means if I got a spider at my nose, I need to put a bird at my nose to catch the spider, then a cat to eat the bird, then a dog to eat the cat, and then a Chinese to eat both the dog and the cat. Don't want to walk around with a Chinese person up your nose, do you? Well, I like Chinese people. I think they're funny. I like their language. They've got a very direct language. Any Chinese speakers in? You can back me up on this. You know the stuff that we get in the corner of our eye? What do we call that? Sleep. Who said spunk? No. Sleep. Oh, yeah, sleep. Do you know what the Chinese call it? Eye shit. Eye shit. Two characters. The first one is I, the second one is shit. Eye shit. Which makes perfect sense, yeah? It's like eye shit. Of course it's the shit that comes out of your eyes. Perfect. And I found that out when I was in bed with Peggy one morning, right? We were in bed together. I got my head on the pillow like this, and she was on the other pillow, waving at me. Tickled my nose like this. I opened my eyes, and she's like, Mark, eye shit on your face. Which sounded more like a request than an observation. She's very young, Peggy, very young actually. I'm in my 40s, she was in her 20s. What's the point in having male privilege if you're not going to use it? That's what I say. And a lot of you guys might be thinking, girlfriend in her 20s, wow, that must have been so cool. Hard work. She'd say things like, oh yeah, let's go clubbing tonight. Like, yeah, what would I rather do? Would I rather go to a shitty nightclub, dance to R&B music for a few hours, paying $25 for shitty cocktails, or stay in? You know, if I'm over 40, I want to stay in, a nice glass of Shiraz, a wheel of cheese, and a wheel of fortune. So I said to her, okay, babe, yeah, let's go clubbing, yeah. Because that's what you do when you love someone, yeah? And you're worried that they might fuck someone younger in the nightclub when you're on there. We left the house at midnight. I was ready for bed. I'd got my jammies on underneath my clubbing gear, right? And we go to this club in South Melbourne. And we get there, and there's like music by Drake and all these other R&B dudes, and we're dancing around, like pretending to enjoy myself. And at 3 o'clock, Peggy turns to me and says, oh, Mum, this club's shit. I'm like, yes, we can go home, yeah. She said, let's go club next door, open until 7 o'clock. And you know when you have those deep, dark thoughts, those thoughts that you never actually go through with, but still think them anyway. I thought, what would happen if I burned down the club next door? And then it hit me, actually. I realised, you know when you see on the news, nightclub goes up in flames, and they blame the bikie gang wars. No, it's just old blokes with young girlfriends who want to go to bed. But, yeah, so we broke up, obviously. I'm single again now. And my best mate's single. He's just broken up with his girlfriend of 11 years. Yeah. 11 is way too young for a relationship. I told him you have to wait until they're 13, then they've got tits and everything, but oh, he wouldn't listen. Oh, come on, I've got to do some pedophile jokes for you. I've ticked every other box tonight. You Australians have got a very liberal attitude towards pedophilia anyway. You do, very liberal attitude. I've seen it on your traffic lights, those signs come on, give way to pets. You know, run the bastards over, run over. I'm going to end tonight with a story, because I think it's always nice to have some kind of moral message at the end of a comedy show. And this is kind of like a heartfelt message, and it's all fun and games and laughter, but I really want to kind of say something. Anyone been to a gender reveal party? Well, I went to one in a brothel in Manila. I mean, it wasn't technically a gender reveal party. Let's just say I was having a party, someone revealed their gender, and it wasn't quite the gender I was expecting. You want to hear this story, yeah? Right, okay, so I was in Manila, this was a couple of years ago, before COVID, and I was there and I had some drinks and some food, and I was going back to the hotel. It was about 1 a.m. And then there was this bar slash massage parlour slash come down, don't know, right? And it got flashing lights and a beer sign, and I thought, I'll just have one quick one before I go to bed. Right? So I went in there and I sat at the bar, and then within a few seconds, this girl came and sat next to me and introduced herself. Her name was Rustiana, which sounds like something you might have for breakfast, like cheesy Rustiana. This was 1 a.m. and I was in no mood for breakfast. Right? And she was very, very charming, very petite she was. She weighed 48 kilograms, she told me. Very high cheekbones, lovely looking girl, and very charming accent, very charming. Like the sort of charming Filipino accent that you hear when someone calls you up asking you if you want to change your electricity plan. You know, that kind of accent. Hello, sir. Are you happy with your current electricity provider? Can I just put you on hold, sir? That kind of accent. So we chat anyway, and then after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, she says, "Do you want to come upstairs for a full body massage?" A strange bar, but yeah, fuck it, whatever, right? So we went upstairs, and I sat on this dead kind of cushion thing, and then from the back she starts massaging me. Now, the size of her hands should have been a red flag. But it was 1 a.m. and I was very drunk. And then she took off my shirt, took off my pants, and she was there in this beautiful dress, and then she took off her dress, but kept her underwear on. And that should have been another red flag, right? But it was 1 a.m., I was very drunk, and she was distracting me with a big bricklayer hand. And I said, "Why don't you take your underwear off?" And she said, "No, that's not a good idea, because I'm very different down there." And I thought, oh, but she's got a hairy bush. Because most girls shave these days, yeah? Ladies, you'll shave these days. Don't be shy, I know you do, right? You do, and there's nothing wrong with shaving, I just prefer a bit of hair, I grew up in the 80s, for me it's nostalgic. It reminds me of my dad's porno collection in the attic. Don't be shy about it, girl. I think you should all grow a hairy bush for Movember. Nice bit of charity work for your CV. And if you can't grow much, don't worry, just grow a bit and then fluff it up with a few strokes of your mascara brush. Because you're worth it. Well, it'll come back into fashion. I know a lot of girls shave these days. It'll come back into fashion, right? It might be in like 10, 20 years cycle, but everyone will have hairy bushes in the future. It will. I'll probably be out of the game by then. I'll be too old, but by the time that your son is going down on my daughter, he'll be coughing up fur balls like a cat. Anyway, so Rusty Elmer says, "Oh, no, I don't want to take those off because I'm very different down there." Well, eventually, she took her knickers off, and guess what? She didn't have hair down there. She had something bigger than a hair. Not much bigger, though. She had a 2-centimetre penis. A 2-centimetre penis. Or an enlarged clitoris, depending on which way you looked at it. I know I'm a glass half full person, so I saw it as an enlarged clitoris. It like a clit had been, like a clit on steroids. Imagine that, a clit on steroids. Like the clit had been working out, in a hoodie. And below the clit cock, if that is even a word, it sounds like a Ukrainian boxer. Below the clit cock, she had a scrotum with no balls in it. Like a deflated balloon, which I mistook for labia. So I'm having a prod like trying to find a weak spot, like a game of Jenga. I was literally Jenga in the patriarchy. And then after the full body massage, we had a real chat. And she told me about her life growing up and all the trauma that she suffered as a kid. And it was actually quite horrific what she went through. Because she felt she was, a girl trapped in a man's body, albeit a 48-kilogram man's body. I mean, if she'd been trapped in your body, mate, I don't think she would have got many customers, to be honest. But she said she was a girl trapped in a man's body, and she identified totally as a woman, and everyone used to bully her. But I treated her like a woman, even though biologically she wasn't a woman. I treated her like a woman with respect. 1 a.m. in a brothel in the middle. Wasn't taken to the theatre and buying jewellery. But I treated her like a woman because she looked and she behaved like a woman. And I compare and contrast that with how I treated Jake, the bloke in the dress, my comedian friend, who also identified as a woman trapped in a man's body, who also basically felt he was, didn't fit neatly into either gender. And I thought about how I treated the two of them. I treated him like a bloke in a dress, because I saw him as a bloke in a dress, but I treated her like a woman, and that made me really question my own integrity about this. And I thought, what have I learned from these two experiences? You know, two very different, very contrasting experiences. And I analysed myself. And what I learned is that Asian men make much better transsexuals than white men. Which is both transphobic and racist. But true, you know, I'm not going to let a white man in a dress blow me, am I? Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.